these dialogues that we're putting on are an exercise in radical collaboration. It's not like Gonzalo and I have the answer and we're trying to convince everybody. We're working with a great community. So thank you to FOLU, the Global Alliance for Future Food, Salzburg Global Cinema, WBCSD, World Farmers Organization, 4 in 1,000, CGIAR, CCAFS. I mean, it's a testimony, I think, to this community that everybody comes together. I should also say, Sue, that this is one of the reports I have on my desk, and in the first paragraph of chapter 1, you conclude what we eat and how we produce it is damaging people and planet. So it's very clear to me, Gonzalo, this is a nexus issue. It's not just about climate. It's about climate. It's about livelihoods. It's about health. It's about biodiversity, and of course, it's also about zoonotic diseases. I see David on the line. Hi, David. I know David's work's crossed all those issues. So I think the first thing to say is that we start from the point that we all understand that our current food and agricultural model is broken, as Danone would say, and that we need to shift to this paradigm of regeneration, which is based on more of a mindset of abundance than scarcity. And I mean, we very much defer to those of you who are much more expert, but in my sort of simple way of thinking about it, regeneration means designing systems so that they give more life, whether that's biomass or well-being. So life in those two senses of kind of physical life and lived experience, and which is the opposite of an extractive, plundering, over-exploiting paradigm, one which is in a kind of fantasy and an unsustainable way lived beyond the planetary boundaries that the scientists define to us. And we're very aware that our relationship with the natural world is the source of a quarter of emissions and could be the source of a third of the solutions in the short term. But also where this nexus means that we have to be very careful not to have a siloed view and not just think about the mitigation role, but also the biodiversity and natural and human resilience roles of a regenerative system. We're also very aware that we've used the term race to zero to give a sense of urgency and a clear goal, but of course zero is just a staging post on the way to regeneration. And I know there's lots of great examples of regenerative practice from around the world, and I'm really looking forward to today to hearing from all of you a lot more about that. I think that if we focus on those sort of simple definitions of increased biomass and more diversification, then that seems to me that probably leads the way to measuring regenerative agriculture. But I'm sure by the end of the day I'll have a much better answer to that technical question. With that, I'll hand over to Gonzalo, who unlike me actually is a farmer.
Well, thanks so much, Nigel, and thanks Sue and the organizers. But yeah, being a farmer doesn't mean that I'm not also in the learning mood, right? I think that we're in a learning mood. There's so much that we're also discovering, and that's part of that should be in our mindset. Having said that, we know that there's no technical reason why agriculture shouldn't realistically be one of the world's most significant carbon negative, I prefer to say climate positive, economic activities. Also, when we speak about resilience, there's so many absolutely tangible benefits that are absolutely delivered through agriculture. So it should have been always in the center, right? We missed and we have lost some time, but we have to get those years back. We think that regenerative agriculture also hasn't scaled yet, because it should start scaling, mostly because investment is not on par with potential, and very little climate finance goes to agriculture. And that's something to be corrected. We're expecting to create some paths towards mobilizing a lot of efforts through and with agriculture. And second, this is compound with subsidies that, as Zach Goldsmith reminds us, are 4 times the global aid budget and not aligned with environmental social outcomes. So we have a problem there that we need to correct. We need to support farmers of all types as front and center of the agenda. There has been a mistake on not doing that. And farmers' knowledge and connection to the land, especially when it comes to small and indigenous farmers, is definitely overlooked. I think that there's a lot of this agenda that is about culture, education, training. We have been mistrained for so many years. We need to correct some basic mistakes that are been there for too long. And I say it very personally as well, right? And we know that policy needs to support an agriculture system that creates global public goods, not externally paid for by the public. And that is also something that is well connected to other areas of the climate agenda. Agriculture, we know, can contribute to net zero emissions by as much as 43 gigatons by 2030, according to Exponential Roadmap. So regenerative agriculture should become the new normal. We know that it requires a lot of changes, but we're here to help those changes become real. We know that this is nothing short of reimagining how we produce and consume food, but that's what it takes. And we have many real life examples that must scale up now in this decisive decade of action, and in which we must be nature positive, climate positive, regenerative by 2030.